Good evening, viewers. I welcome you all for this talk on energy audits. I would like to take the opportunity to thank Professor Yadav, President ISRE Kolhapur Sangli Subchapter, Professor Sardar Sheikh, HOD Mechanical, and Mr. Anirban, Student Leader for ISRE, for giving me this opportunity. So this talk exclusively I'll dedicate for energy audits in general, and tomorrow I will be specifically speaking on HVAC, that is heating, ventilation and air conditioning. So I am Suresh Mane, working at Girija Sale Institute of Technology, which is at Karwar, south of Goa. So the flow will be something like this. We'll study what, where and why energy audits, what are the types of energy audits, the steps undertaken, then the instruments used for energy audits, both mechanical as well as electrical. We'll see the report, how it is prepared, energy audit report, like you make your own project reports. So one report has to be prepared. Then I think MEP training, you had a beautiful talk on 12th. So just briefly, one slide I got on MEP training. Some energy efficient technologies, both mechanical and electrical, we'll discuss, because I think this will be some takeaway so that you understand the new technologies. And I'll also talk about the BE star labeling program. Some of you may be aware, but let us revisit that, specifically with respect to DG sets, that is diesel generating sets. I will also look into the home energy conservation. I have taken some snaps from my own home, like what we do to save energy in our at homes. And I'll have a small calculation of our home also, how much we spend. So per capita expenditure on energy, we'll understand. We'll see the HVAC some terms, a psychometric chart, and VFD is one good device extensively used for energy conservation. That we will see. One small graph we will see, and some measures on energy conservation in the cold storages, as well as we'll see the national competitive examination for energy manager and energy auditor conducted by Government of India, that is Ministry of Power, and lastly the references. So what is an energy audit? I think we all do audits, but it's not recorded or not very formal. Informally we do. So energy audit is nothing but the inspection, survey and the analysis of energy flows for identification of energy saving opportunities to reduce the energy inputs without affecting the output. So ultimately we are trying to find out the identification of energy saving opportunities. Now these opportunities can be at home, can be in industries, okay, and we all do financial audits. There are chartered accountants for organizations and institutes. The CA will be taking energy audit. Likewise, for energy audit, to be an energy auditor, you should be a graduate engineer. That we shall see. And we will also study as an auditor, you study the input output process of an industry. And what is the technology used and what is the energy cost involved in the industry. So energy audit basically deals with checking. We check, we measure and verify. You have to measure it, because in real life we don't measure at home and all, but in industry you need to measure and verify, and you need to compare with the benchmarks. We have our own benchmarks. I think you are all aware that if you want to buy a bike or car, first thing you'll ask, how kitna dete hai? So this is one of the benchmark we keep. Similarly, there are constraints with money. So audit plays a more vital role for industries to be sustainable in this difficult time. So why energy audits means there is a resource crunch. You are aware world is going through a recession and India is no exception to that. Many manufacturing industry is very badly hit. Automobile sector is hit. So a lot of sectors are hit. Basically education also is going through a recession. And secondly, the fossil fuels, whatever we are using, are very finite in nature. I think you are all aware that we are extensively dependent on fossil fuels. India is almost importing 7.5 lakh crores worth of oil, crude oil. That is almost 2,054 crore rupees per day of oil import we are doing. Just imagine the foreign exchange being burnt by our transport vehicles mainly. And third, we have got the environmental concerns, like you are all aware. about the concerns. Let us see. Now the key environmental issues are like the acid rain, ozone layer depletion, global warming, and the loss of biodiversity. This slide depicts the acid rain basically. You can see at the bottom of the red car and one industry is there. So these emit SO2, NOx and all, which these gases go and react with the uh, water vapor in the clouds, and they form nitric acid as well as sulfuric acid, and which fall back. And it hurts everything, like it hurts buildings, it hurts mankind, it hurts vegetation. So this is not advisable. And I think you are aware of Taj Mahal. Even the color disfiguration started, and Supreme Court asked the industries to move out of Agra. And second is the ozone layer depletion. I think you are aware, due to the COVID, at least one good thing has happened is the ozone layer has healed. So ozone is a shield which protects mankind from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun, and that gets destroyed by the chlorine and other CFC which use refrigerants. So nowadays we are going for ozone friendly refrigerants. Third is the natural greenhouse effect. Actually, the temperature of the earth is rising. So this is also having disastrous consequences, and it will be a global consequences which the mankind is likely to face in near future. And CO2 levels, if you see earlier somewhere around 290, 300 was the average CO2 level in the atmosphere. Today it is hovering somewhere around 390, very dangerous levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And it is really not a good trend. This trend has to be reversed. And action is being taken at all levels, international level, national level. And few organizations in India like which are taking care of this energy conservation is at PCRA, that is Petroleum Conservation Research Association. Then BE, that is Bureau of Energy Efficiency under Ministry of Power. And you have got Ministry of MNRE, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. So basically we all say that electricity is a very clean power which we use at the point of use, but at the point of generation it produces a lot of smoke. I don't know whether you have visited any thermal power plant. I am fortunate that I have visited both thermal power plant, nuclear power plant as well as hydel power plants. But I have seen that thermal power plant emit a lot of smoke, a lot of fly ash. So that is what I wanted to suggest, that the power what we use not only in India as well as the world, almost 60% of the power comes through coal, and this has got very disastrous consequences. So the energy audit is more so important because coal emits a lot of carbon dioxide. And regarding the finite nature of the fossil fuels, if you see this graph, very simple graph it is there, right from 100,000 BC to 4000 BC. Somewhere around 1900 and all we got that crude oil and all. And within a span of I think 50-100 years, the entire thing gets exhausted. But we are the only generation we are enjoying this. I am very sure that the next generations, generations to come, they will not enjoy the benefit of this fuel. So this is simple graph depicting that. And the energy audit, basically when we look into industries, so we see that like this is the industrial process shown in the center. So in the left you see the energy, water, chemicals, raw material, they are the inputs and you get the products at the right. And in this process you have like emissions from combustion, emissions from the process, and in the bottom you can see the waste, the solid waste and indirect energy waste. So we study the input and output of the process in any industry. Okay. So just as a takeaway, I thought like you should know what are the energy efficient technologies. Let us see mechanical. So mechanical nowadays you have got earlier you had very big boilers. Today you have very small packaged boilers are there. So need based. Like I think I can give a small example. You have got gas geyser at home. If you just compare with a boiler which was there at home earlier, which used to burn wood and all, so this is very compact and very energy efficient. As simple as that. Similarly, you have got furnaces which are very efficient and good combustion technologies, proper insulation. Then your air conditioners, diesel generating sets, they are all energy efficient. Now they have come with star rating. And you have the new generation compressors. Earlier we had only reciprocating compressor, but today you have screw type compressors which are very silent and energy efficient. And then the last thing is the waste heat recovery. Basically, any heat which is going out, like our automobile exhaust in bikes, but today in cars, in the exhaust also we are running the turbo superchargers and trying to take out energy advantage from the exhaust also. Similarly, industry also the waste heat is sent at somewhere around 160, 170 degrees centigrade. Below that we can't send it out because the coal, diesel and all, they contain an element called sulfur. And this sulfur produces sulfur dioxide. So anything below 150 and all, if you extract the heat, then the sulfur dioxide condenses and produces sulfuric acid and it corrodes the entire material. Hence, we do not, this is one of the bottlenecks. So that is why nowadays we are going for sulfurless fuels or low sulfur fuels. And even your Bharat stage 6 diesel has got very ultra low sulfur with them. And regarding electrical technologies, we will see we have got something called VFDs or variable frequency drives. Then we have something called power factor improvement and maximum demand controllers. You have energy efficient motors which are more than 92% efficient now. And distribution transformers also, what you see outside your house, oil field. Now you have got that dry type loss transformers, distribution transformers, and energy efficient welding sets. Like you have latest is the inverter based sets instead of the old heavy one, transformer one, which we have seen all along. And illumination also, I think now you know all the LED lamps. We are going for like transparent roofing and all to take advantage of natural sunlight. So Government of India has initiated a process called as BE star labeled products. So Bureau of Energy Efficiency, they have mandatorily labeled lot of products so that the consumer has a choice. He understands what are the energy efficiency of the, like 1 star, 2 star to 5 star. So 5 star is the highest and 1 star is the least. So you can the consumer can choose. So the room air conditioners, ceiling fans, color televisions, computers, refrigerators, distribution transformers, gas stoves, frost-free refrigerators, industrial motors, pumps, submersible pumps. So lot of things you have got star rating. Microwave, now room AC with a variable speed like inverter AC is what you are seeing. So your consumer has an informed choice about this. So I was going through the star rating plan for, I think you can just see this star. Suppose this is for a chiller, you can see right from 1 star to 5 star. So 1 star has got a COP of 4.8, whereas 5 star has got a COP of 6.6. So these are latest figures what I am having. So you have got an informed choice. So likewise, it is there for everybody. Yeah. So as a auditor, actually, what you would like to ponder? This is not a rocket science. It's very simple common sense. That's why I put that bulb in the beginning of my presentation. It's a very simple common sense. We all have that. Only we have to look specifically into that. Like one is the equipment oversize. I think you all know we all have cars. So in car, most of the people drive a single. So it is like it's a very huge vehicle, 1000 kg vehicle transporting 100 kg person. So it is like equipment oversize. Simple examples. Then I give simple examples so that you can relate to them. Okay. Similarly, is the case of boilers, furnaces, which consume energy. So you need to have a proper size of equipment. So instead of a big car, you can go in bike also. Okay, there is more fuel efficient, less carbon footprints. Similarly, operation at full load. Most of the equipments we operate at very part load conditions. So that is also not advisable. Say suppose in a house you have a cooker, a 5 kg cooker, 6 kg cooker, and you are cooking only for 2 people. That is like you are using part load. You can better go for 3 liter cookers. Okay. Similarly, star rating, as I was telling, B star rating products are there. So it is advisable that educated people, those who are aware, they should go for star rated product. They are expensive in the beginning. Initial cost is high, but the life cycle cost is low. So you have to understand not only the initial cost, but take care of the entire life cycle cost, which involves the operation and maintenance cost. Then nowadays, this building management system softwares are there to monitor the performance of buildings, high-rise building, what you call. Then one more thing I think most of you may not be knowing is the time of day metering, TOD they call. So if basically I can give one example like in dairies where they process this milk, they use this TOD metering to their advantage. So in the evening between 11 to 5, they cool their water. They call it an ice bank tank. So that time if you use the power, the charges are almost 15% off less. So nowadays, I think electricity is costing somewhere 7 to 8 rupees per unit. So they take advantage of this because why this time of day metering is done, Mika? Because any industry again like operating at full load, if the power plant is working at part load, then the efficiency part load efficiency will be less. That is why this they are passing on the advantage to the consumers. Then you have renewable energy like solar, wind, and all, and waste heat recovery technologies are there that you should see where you can use. I gave example of car turbochargers, and similarly, I can give an example like in all the power plants. If you say we have studied, I think we study energy engineering or power plant engineering. There you can see there is something called uh, air preheater, economizer. These are nothing but like waste heat recovery device. So air preheater heats the air which is sent to the combustion, and economizer heats the water which is being supplied to sent to the boiler. So we are recovering heat from the glue gases to heat the air and water. One example for a DG set, you just see this DG set. This is a star labeling, how the label is put on the uh, equipment. This is a 3-star rated product. Now, if you just see here also, like for as a mechanical engineer, I think you know about SFC, specific fuel consumption. So you can see if a single star rated DG set is there, it may consume around 300 to 336 grams of fuel per kilowatt hour, means per unit, 300 grams to 335 grams of fuel. But 5-star rated products, they consume less than 220 grams. Okay, so less than 220 grams means almost for per liter per kg of diesel, they produce almost 4 to 5 units, whereas this it produces only 3 units. So if for a layman or a thumb rule, uh, per liter 3 units of power and per liter 5 units of power makes big difference. The electricity energy produced by DG sets cost somewhere around 18 to 20 rupees in that case per unit. So this is small procedure what I have shown. I think you can go through this, how the DG sets are tested. Okay. Uh, and these are some devices like now I was telling, uh, dry transformers, energy efficient motors, energy efficient pumps, the compressors, screw compressors, furnaces, and the packaged boiler. The bottom right side, the packaged boilers are there. So very nice technologies have come up over the years in the field of energy conservation, energy audit due to energy audits. If you take my own, just to on a lighter side, my own house application, what I have done, like I have a small 100cc bike and a small petrol car and diesel car. I don't have any big SUV and all. So, and we travel also very need based on a monthly basis, that too when the family is traveling. The building house is painted white inside outside, and all we have got all the lights are LED bulbs and tube lights. We use B star label products, and our LPG cooking stove we are using LPG. Earlier days people used to use kerosene, wood, and all. This is clean burning fuel. So and you have different size of pressure cookers. If for cooking for 2, cooking for 4, as I was telling, 3 liters, 5 liters, 8 liters cookers are available. And we use the LPG in a blue. The flame should be blue. That is why we clean that. We should not have a yellow flame. That is taken care. And we have like renewable energy solar water heater. But we do have LPG geyser backup. Now just one simple example I wanted to give. You take a cooker. Pressure cooker works on technology. Okay. So the one thing is if you are using a cooker, you are saving fuel there. Second thing, as per the needs of the family, you can have a small cooker, large cooker. Based on the need, you can change the cooker. Cooker is a one-time investment, say 1,500 rupees, but it will in a long run it saves you money. Second thing, you can see this cooking also. This open vessel cooking is not advisable. you can see right side you got open vessel cooking, but the flame is blue, so that means it shows a burner is burning efficiently. Okay, and rather than that, we should use technology like pressure cooker. That saves time as well as money. And all my bulbs, like I was telling, this is shot in my house only. So these are small 9 watt bulbs in the bedroom, and 20 watt, 8 watt tube light, LED tube lights in the living rooms. Just to take what is audit, just to appreciate that, if you just take my own home, we have 4 members in the family. We almost spend 3,000 rupees per head per month. I'll just show what are the energy sources. Like you see, 1, 2, 3, 4 are listed. One is petrol and diesel used for cars, where we spend almost 8,000 rupees with the least travel, and electricity almost 1,000 rupees per month. LPG we use for cooking as well as sometimes water heating, that costs 2,000 rupees per month. Petrol is 1,000 for two-wheelers, so it is almost 12,000 rupees per month, and 1,44,000 rupees per annum. And you can see the breakup. Now, this kind of study you do in industry. So, what are the different types of fuel? What is the monthly expenditure? What is the annual expenditure? What is the share? Now you can see 66% is petrol, diesel in cars, and LPG is 18%. So, if I want to tackle, first I will tackle this big percentage, 66%. Then I will try to tackle the 8%, sorry, 18%. Then I will go for the electricity and two-wheelers. I think this graph gives this table gives a clear understanding ki what is the specific energy consumption per head per person per month, as well as what are the share of the various forms of energy and where you should tackle. Just for simplicity sake, I have shown this so that you will have a fair idea. And the same thing is applied to industry also. So industry, these energy audits are taken for all, undertaken for all industries, whether the small, big, medium, and hotels. The government of India has some designated consumers. So these for them mandatory audits are there. Cold storages, then office building, malls, commercial building, hospitals, multi-story residences, then milk processing and all. Okay. So what are the types of energy audit? As I was telling, so one is a small audit, so 3 days, that is walkthrough audit or preliminary audit. Then we have a detailed energy audit where you study the process in detail. And third one is like investment grade audit. Investment grade audit means when you suggest, suppose you ask for some retrofitment and it costs them 5 lakhs, 10 lakh rupees, then you need to make a very elaborate audit and specify it financially why, justify it as to why that retrofit makes sense. Okay. Then steps in energy audits are you collect data, you go to this field, you study, then you analyze the energy consumption and performance of energy accounting. Then you do analysis and you finally prepare a report. I think this MEP training was covered to you nicely, but just I wanted to share that this includes HVAC design and drafting, HVAC execution and maintenance. So these are the different fields where young engineers can work. Either they can work for design and drafting of HVAC system, or they can use for project implementation or for operation and maintenance. So this is a 10 steps methodology for conducting energy audit. Like one is the plan, step on plan and organize, then walk through the audit and informal interview with the stakeholders. Then second is introductory meeting with the divisional heads. Step 3, you collect data, primary data, and then you have flow diagrams for energy and process. 4, you conduct the survey and monitor. Okay, you then you conduct the detailed trials. You measure it actually for a certain period of time, let's say 24 hours and all. Okay, then you have you make the analysis of the energy use, just like I made for my own house. That small analysis you will make. Then you will try to find out the opportunities for conserving energy, and based on that you will make the cost benefit analysis, and you will report to the management, and afterwards there is a implementation phase. Okay. So one report observation I just wanted to share. This is a new mall in Faridabad, undertaken recently. So you can see a lot of awareness is there. People, like the main salient points are the power factor. They are maintaining almost unity. That is very good. Then chillers are very efficient, and pumps are also high efficiency pumps, and VFD has been introduced. Then lifts are also new technology. Lighting is good, LED lamps. And their only suggestion, what I saw, that the old 36 watt tube lights with the electronic chokes, they asked them to replace the with the LED lights. Okay, so when all new technology things are used, then there is very little scope for further conservation. Now let us go look at the instruments used for energy audits, like mechanical. Now what are the parameters you measure? Like you measure the temperature, heat flow, radiation, air flow, liquid flow, RPM, air velocity, noise vibration, dust, TDS, pH values, moisture, relative humidity, combustion. So for measuring these parameters, you have got flue gas analyzer, draft gauges, IR thermometers, anemometers, flow meters, TDS meters, temperature indicators, emission measurement. And nowadays you have got multitasking equipment which measure 3-4 quantities in a single equipment, and data logging facilities available, pressure measurement, humidity and measurement. Similarly, like let us see what are the equipments we measure basically, like AC, refrigeration units, boilers, furnaces, steam systems, insulation. Steam systems means in industry mostly steam is used for heating. So the entire thing, where steam pipelines are there, steam traps are there, it's properly studied. This you don't study in your academics basically. Then you have insulation also, like heat transfer you study, the insulation is there. The industrial fans, different types of fans, high capacity fans basically. Then DG sets, diesel generating sets for the standby backup power, air compressors, again this is utility, refrigeration system, waste heat recovery systems, heat exchangers and lighting systems. And electrical instruments are also there. Now they are mostly, I have seen lately, they are having Bluetooth, and on cloud they can send the data. So remotely also you can measure. That facility has come. Like electrical, you have clamp meters, PF meters, power quality analyzers, thermal cameras, lux meter, and hygrometer. So lux meter is to measure the illumination level. And the electrical equipments what we study are like transformers, lighting systems, HVAC systems, refrigeration systems, motors, pumps, and automatic power factor controllers. I just downloaded some pictures for the observation. Like electrically, you have this clamp meters for measuring various parameters like voltage, current, power factor, active power, reactive power, uh, real power, frequencies, harmonics, and you have got energy, smart energy meters also. So nowadays smart means which are net enabled, net connected, so that data can be shared. You have combustion gas analyzer, fuel efficiency monitors, then manometers, pitot tubes, then contact and non-contact thermometers, ultrasonic flow meters, psychrometer. This is for to measure the dry bulb temperature, wet bulb temperature, sling psychometer. Ultrasonic flow meter is a non-contact flow meter for measuring the flow of fluids. You can see a very simple handheld device it is. Tachometers are there, again contact one and non-contact one, which is known as stroboscope. Then lux meter for measuring light intensity. The white, this one is a sensor connected to the device. And you have a thermography which measures the various temperatures. And this is a real life example, like Testo instruments. I have opportunity to see them. These figures are taken from Testo website. You can see HVAC, they have got special instruments. Refrigeration, they have got instruments. So one more company is like Fluke. They are also into, they are all reputed equipment manufacturers. And some manufacturer list I have given like Vika, Orion, Massibus, Testo, Chavison, Proximon, Utech. Then regarding detailed energy audit, there are some steps I think we have already discussed. But see, one is the executive summary. Executive summary means the management doesn't have the time that they listen to you for the entire day. So they may give some half an hour or so. And in that 1 or 2 pages you have to say what you want to do, what are the opportunities of conserving energy. And that gives the gist of your suggestions. Okay, 1 or 2 pages only. Then you have got a detailed study like the plant layout, description, production cost, major energy use areas, production process described properly, flow diagram, you make the raw materials, what the quantity cost. Then energy and utility systems. Utility means whatever like electricity, steam, compressed water, compressed air, water, chilled water, cooling water, these are all called termed as utilities. Then you will be studying all these utilities in detail. Then detail process flow diagram, energy and mass balance, water balance you will take. Then energy efficiency in utility systems and process systems. Like for SEC, specific energy consumption, I told the DJ set gives somewhere 3 to 5 units of power, electricity per liter of diesel. Similarly, your bike 50 km, 60 km देती है. So these are all specific energy consumption. Boiler efficiency, furnace efficiency, cooling water performance assessment, DG set efficiency, refrigeration system efficiency, compressed air system, electric motor efficiency, lighting systems, and all. And based on that, you will have the energy conservation options. And you will list the options. Some options don't cost money. So the low cost operations, medium cost operations, and high cost operations. Even the timeline also, some can be implemented immediately, some may take some months, and some may take some years. So that also has to be considered. And you need to lastly give what are the list of instruments used for the audit, and who are the equipment suppliers. Suppose you talk about waste heat recovery. Suppose you talk about VFD. Okay, then who are the suppliers of the equipment? You need to give a list. So if you suggest any measure, so like you suggested one measure of waste heat recovery, let us take, then you have to make a table like this. What is the equipment? What is the civil cost? What is the instrumentation cost? What is the auxiliary cost? So this is the first investment. Then what is the annual operating cost? This annual operating cost includes cost of capital, maintenance, manpower, energy, depreciation. Okay, depreciation means when you buy something, next year its value reduces. Suppose I buy a bike for 60,000 rupees, so next year it will be a 50,000. So this way the equipment depreciates. Third is the annual savings. So what is the savings in electrical energy, thermal energy, waste, or raw material saving? So based on this, when you make a small table like this for each measure, energy conservation measure, then you will say the net savings is equal to annual savings minus annual operating cost. This then you will find out the payback period. So payback period is investment divided by the net savings per year into 12. So you can understand in months how many months the money gets returned. Suppose we ask to invest 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs. So in how many years he will get the money back? So if the industrialist proprietor gets the money back early, say 3 years, 5 years, he is interested in investing. If it goes beyond that, I think they don't show much interest in the investing for those energy conservation measures, unless they are mandated by law, like Environmental Act and all. Second thing, that the suggestions whatever you make, I have shown you some technologies. If you want to make some suggestions, then you have to make a table like this. So what are the energy saving recommendations you are making? So what is the annual energy savings in terms of units? Then in terms of money, what is the annual savings? And what is the total investment you have to make? And what is the payback period? So normally the payback period should be the least short one, 2 years, 3 years. Then they are prompted to invest. Then you have to again prioritize this energy saving measure, as I was telling. One is with no investment, or immediately they can do some operational improvements, some housekeeping improvements. Then second is the low investment, which can take some few months, short term and medium term, like you install some controls, equipment modifications, some process change you do. And third one is a high investment, the long term, like energy efficient devices, product modifications, technology change and all. So you have to make a table, what is the savings in terms of units, in terms of money, and what is the priority. Just as a mechanical engineer, I think you'll be interested, you study the boilers. The boiler, I wanted to show one small picture, like what is the efficiency of boiler. Here, boiler, right side you can see, left side you can see fuel input and air is supplied. Then water is supplied and goes out as steam. And the blue is the flue gases, which contains all these dry flue gases, hydrogen loss, moisture in fuel, then moisture in air, carbon monoxide loss, fly ash loss, as well as the surface loss, and bottom ash loss, as well as blow down. So the efficiency of the boiler, when you take in detail study, then you will study this all losses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that you will subtract from the 100. So this will give the detailed efficiency of the boiler in the indirect method. Coming to refrigeration plants, I think this refrigeration plants also we will discuss in detail tomorrow. You can see that HVAC audit also, I think we will see that tomorrow only we will go through that. And just we'll see the vapor compression refrigeration system components like you have the evaporator, compressor, condenser and the throttle valve. This is a pH diagram. And just we'll see the centralized air conditioning for multi-story buildings. You see nowadays they have centralized air conditioning system. Just to have a fair idea, you can see the bottom you have got a chiller. In the basement you will have a chiller which contains the compressor, condenser and the evaporator. Okay. Now on the rooftop you will have cooling towers. So what in normal air conditioning, what we see directly in the evaporator, air is cooled and sent to the room, like you see in the split AC what we are having in house or ATMs, bank ATMs. But this central AC, they have the cooling water is circulated to all the floors actually, chilled water. So water is chilled somewhere 8 to 10 degrees centigrade in the chiller, and it is sent to all the floors. And in all the floors you have got something called AHU, air handling units. They supply the air to all the rooms in the different floors. And for the movement of this cold or chilled water, there is a pump. And the condenser water, to cool the condenser water, you have got a pump, and it supplies the pump to the rooftop cooling tower, and the heat is dumped to the atmosphere. I think we will see the photograph also. Okay, next we will see the photograph. Now just one slide, I wanted to show you there are different types of compressors like screw compressor, multi-scroll compressor, high efficiency screw compressor, oil-free centrifugal compressor. So as an engineer, if you appreciate that the full load rating is only same, almost 6 the ER you are getting, but part load you can see they change. So part load efficiency oil-free centrifugal is far better if you are running it 40%, 60% and all. So based on these kind of graphs, you have graphs for all, like pumps also I think you might have studied, characteristic curves of pumps, chillers. So you will understand this, and as an engineer you have to apply this when you undertake the energy audits. So as I was telling, you can see the left side circuit is the chilled water, and the air handling unit, that cold air is supplied to the inside, extreme left, and the extreme right is the cooling tower which supplies the dumps the heat into the atmospheric air to the right. And then you have got this, like evaporator and condenser in between. These are the different loops. And just you can see the psychometric chart. For 2 minutes I will explain this psychometric chart developed by Carrier. This is for 1 atmospheric pressure. You can see the x-axis you have got the dry bulb temperatures, and y-axis you can see that 0 to 35, that is the grams of water vapor per kg of dry air. This is a specific humidity. And the red curved line is the saturation line, 100% saturation line. You can see that at 0 degrees or 5 degrees, the maximum amount of water that air can hold is only 5 grams. Whereas if the temperature goes to 35 degrees centigrade, at 35 degrees centigrade, air can hold up to 35 grams of water per kg of dry air. And the slant line you can say 20 to 100, 110, whatever is written. This is the enthalpy line, constant enthalpy lines. And you have got wet bulb temperature lines, these green color lines. So this is a psychometric chart also which is used in this audits. And for HVAC you have that compressor, chilled water pumps, cooling tower fan and condenser pumps. So again, if you look at I think you are all aware that now due to COVID, the government has asked people to raise the temperature right of the ACs right from 25 to 30 degrees centigrade. Because you can see, just see the column 1 and column 3. Column 1 is the evaporated temperature and column 3 is the specific power consumption. You can see as the from 5 you are lowering the temperature. When you lower the temperature of the evaporator, the specific power consumption increases. So this is not advantageous. So that is why now they are advising to increase the evaporator temperature so that the specific power consumption is reduced, and also it takes care of this COVID sanitization business. And some of the energy conservation measures, like I have visited Parle-G factory in Hubli. They used to use electricity for heating, that is baking of the biscuits. But today they have gone for LNG, liquefied natural gas. So very clean burning, and they are saving around 30% of the cost also. So fuel substitution can be one of the things. As I was telling earlier, people are using kerosene stove or firewood, and today they are using LPG for cooking. This is a case of fuel substitution. Then second is energy generation also. I think you are all aware, a lot of sugar industries in Maharashtra. So this sugar industries earlier they are only generating, producing sugar, but today they have gone into power generation also, co-generation, some 20 megawatt, 30 megawatt. Each sugar industry has got a co-generation plant. So the bagasse they burn to generate steam, and they run a steam power plant. Also, they are now into distillery. Also, they manufacture ethanol, which is used for human consumption, as well as blending with the fuel what we use. The petrol almost has 5% of ethanol, and that is why it is called as gasohol. Gasoline plus alcohol. Then you should study the energy distribution and energy usage by the process. So based on these studies, you need to make the technical studies and economical feasibility or studies, because I told economical they should be viable. You can't have long payback periods. Okay, they should have very short payback periods. Second thing, with the technology, what you are suggesting about whether they have the space, whether manpower is available, and then you should also study the safety. Basically, as we are talking about energy audits, there are something called safety audits and environmental audits also. But mostly people are doing them for namesake. That is why it's a cause of concern globally. And what are the, if you suggest any new technology, whether it's reliable, what are the service issues, maintenance requirements, and availability of space, this all need to be studied. So one technology I just wanted to say, because most of you are mechanical engineers, in electrical engineering, the new device called, like, you have got inverter AC. Now I think you have got inverter AC, then inverter lifts are available. Okay. Similarly, these are like VFD, variable frequency drives. Please just see the two lines. One is the red line and the blue line. The red line is the real curve, and the blue line is when you install the VFD. At 100% rating, this is basically used for motors, high capacity motor. At 100, the motor can be used for a pump, it can be used for a compressor, it can be used for a lift, various applications. At 100% loading, the efficiency is okay. But when the capacity reduces, instead of 100%, suppose you are running at 60%, you can see the real curve power requirement is very high, 80%. Whereas if you use a VFD, you can run it with 60% of power. So you are almost saying 20% of the power. So this is of great help. Like I can give one example in lift. So suppose lift is designed for 500 kg, then only one person is traveling. So in this case, these are helpful in conserving the energy. So lastly, I wanted to talk about this national certification exam for certified energy managers and energy auditors. I think you are aware it's conducted annually by Ambedkar Institute of Productivity, AIP, National Productivity Council, and there are guidebooks available online. Please download them. Free guidebooks are there. Very useful guidebooks, both from electrical point of view and the mechanical point of view. Really, it will make your learning meaningful. There are 4 papers, and the fees of 10,000 rupees for the examination, and the winning passing percentage is 50%. And the 4th paper is a open book exam, but that doesn't help. You need to have your fundamentals very strong. For energy managers, anybody like a postgraduate in science with 5 years experience, diploma holder, mechanical engineering with 6 years experience, or BA MTech person can become. But for energy auditor, you need to be a graduate engineer with 3 years of experience, or a postgraduate engineer with 2 years of experience. So there are 4 books what I was telling. One, the first book refers to the general aspects of energy management and energy audit. So PDF copies are available. Second is the energy efficiency in the thermal utilities. Third is energy efficiency of electrical utilities. And the last book is energy performance assessment of equipment and utility systems. So the syllabus also is given here, like energy scenario. First book it is general aspects of energy management and energy audit. Energy scenario, Energy Conservation Act, which was implemented in 2001. I think now it is being updated, revised. And the basics of energy, energy management and audit, energy and mass balance, energy action planning, financial management, energy efficiency and climate change, new and renewable energy sources. And second, for mechanical engineers, this second book will be very interesting, like you study fuels and combustion, boilers, steam system, furnaces, insulation, FBC, that is fluidized bed combustion boilers, that is the new generation boilers. Then cogeneration, waste heat recovery and heat exchangers. For electrical engineers, I think you study about electrical motors, compressed air system, HVAC and refrigeration system, fans and blowers, pumps and pumping systems, cooling towers, lighting systems, diesel and natural gas powered generators, and of late there is something called ECBC, Energy Conservation Building Codes. Okay, this is also part of this energy conservation by BE. And the last book where you study the performance assessment of equipment and utility systems, you study the performance of boilers, furnaces, cogeneration systems, heat exchangers, electrical motors and variable speed drives, fans and blowers, pumps, compressors, HVAC system, and the financial analysis. So I am a certified energy manager as well as auditor. So they give you a certificate like this, which is valid for I think 5-10 years, and every 5 years you need to undergo a training. See bottom, I think in the red they are written. Last year 2018 I have undergone training. So they give the certificate issued by Ministry of Power, and they also issue a identity card like certified energy manager they are given. So my number was EA8061. This is identity card given to the certified energy manager. So lastly I would like to say, whatever recommendations you make, basically they should be based on some financial tool which you use, like return on investment or internal rate of return or net present value technique or discounted cash flow technique. These techniques you study in your economics, actually managerial economics, when you study I think in second or third year of engineering. So you should also classify them as low cost investments, medium cost and high cost investments. So the most of the references material I have taken from Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Ministry of Power, Government of India website. I also taken from AIP, NPC, that guidebooks, and PCRA and the equipment manufacturers. So at the end I would like to thank you, and you can have a great day. This is my email, mane.suresh1304@gmail.com. Any queries are there, you can ask me now, or you can post the queries. I will try to answer whenever it's convenient for me. Thank you and have a great day.